Okay, what's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Today we have a very special guest on the show.
We have Ulster and Osprey and Ireland and Lion, heartthrob, Tommy Bowe. Tommy, how are you, dude?
Ross, come from one heartthrob to another. How are you?
Oh, Jesus, no one's ever called me a heartthrob. That's the first time anyone's ever said a compliment back to me after a nice little introduction.
I'm
Great,
trying
Tommy.
to grow a beard like you. I've still a little bit of work to do, mind you.
Oh, this is a COVID-19 beard.
Yeah.
How long have you been in lockdown for?
Oh, Jesus, 2 years. Oh, I'm like Tom Hanks from Castaway.
You look like it, all right. How's it going, lads? All good?
Brilliant, Tommy, brilliant. Well, like as best as it can be, you know?
Yeah. Funny old times.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you based now?
I'm living in Belfast. So I
Belfast.
Retired with Ulster a year and a half ago. Obviously was living in Belfast when I was playing for them and still here. So all good. Yeah, but well, before this whole crazy time, I was on the road non-stop. I was in probably Dublin, Galway, Limerick, 3-4 times a week. So doing a lot of mileage now since retiring, but being busy. So it's all good.
Yeah, because you're a Monaghan man, aren't you?
Yeah, from Monaghan. So nip down there to catch up with the folks now and again as well. But a lot of my mates, very few of them are still in Monaghan. A lot of them they're Cavan and Meath and Dublin and all over the show. So who knows whether I'll go back there again. But great memories back in Monaghan.
Yeah, in fairness, they were the last county in Ireland to catch a dose of the coronavirus. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something to be said about that.
Great at washing their hands and washing diesel.
something else. So, Tommy, what's life looking like for you now? Obviously, you're retired from playing rugby, but you're working away. You were one of the main analysts there for the Pro 14. I think, was it with Virgin Media?
No, don't make that mistake, lads.
Geez, sorry.
Air Sports.
Apologies.
Get me in trouble. So I'm the presenter of the Pro 14 with Air Sport, which has been a really exciting challenge for me to be presenting. To go straight into that from retiring was a difficult jump to make. To go the punditry side of things and analyst side of things. It is the more natural progression, because being a rugby player, we know from all those meetings that we've done, all those years of playing and training, we can see and read plays. But for me, I wanted to challenge myself. So I tried to get into the presenting side of things. I did a bit of presenting on a holiday show for RTE and BBC. I've done a documentary or two as well.
Was that with Bowe Williams, was it?
Yeah.
My dad actually told me that.
Mairead Ronan, yeah.
My dad actually told me that. I was like, what?
It wasn't the toughest of shows. It definitely, unfortunately, RTE have actually pulled it, which is a bit of a shame, because getting to go off on trips with Mairead and Vogue and the lads off to Seattle, Lanzarote, Ibiza, that was a great gig. Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah, keep the tan well topped up as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know I'm feeling particularly pasty, and the one day that the sun is shining here in Ireland and in Belfast, I'm here inside doing this podcast. We won't be here for long. We'll be all good.
We'll pay for the tan in bed. We'll pay for the tan in bed.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Tommy, is it difficult?
Proper Jacob Stockdale style. What?
Is it difficult being a presenter now, knowing the players, having played with a lot of them, and like actually being like critical? How do you find that?
Well, it is hard. And for me, like, I'm not trying to be critical. I think one of the things is, as a player, we're used to Monday morning meetings where the coaches would be absolutely, they come down hard on players. So the players are well used to people picking up on their mistakes and being criticized for things, because it happens every day in their training regime. But I think they have respect for players who've been there and done it before. So they know that if I say something, or Donncha O'Callaghan says something, or Luke Fitzgerald or Peter Stringer, they know that we've been in that situation before, and we're not just saying it just to try and get clicks, So I think that's the big thing. We're not trying to be too sensational. The beauty of it from my side is I didn't want to be that person, and really, to be a pundit nowadays, you have to be a little bit sensational. You have to try and create headlines people want, to create that bit of drama. So from my point of view, that's why I wanted to go down the presenter role. I wanted to be the man asking the questions, maybe knowing where the tough questions were and the tough answers were going to be, and I get to throw it over to the likes of Donncha to go and throw someone under the bus. So that's the side of things I enjoy the most. But Particularly, I just love from the presenter side of things. I could have 5 guys in my ear, or 5 men, women talking away in my ear, counting down how long I've got left in the chat, what we're going to next, what the pictures are coming up on the screen. And I'm trying to talk to the 2 or 3 who are in front of me. So your brain is, it's 100 miles an hour. And whenever I played a match, my body was wrecked after it, but my brain was fine. Where now doing this, it's my brain is wrecked and my body is fine. So it's a complete adjustment, but I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Oh, Tommy, tell us this. Do you have a favorite sort of panel to work with? Like, obviously you mentioned Donica and Peter there, but do you have someone who like is your favorite person to bounce off?
Well, I don't like Jerry Flannery there because he stresses me out. He's way too intense. And himself and Stringer are the worst, because normally whenever the game kicks off, I like to get myself a nice tie and some noodles and take it easy, where those lads are all about the chopped and salads and stuff. So not keen on that. So having Donica there always adds a bit of crack. Sometimes he's a bit of a disaster because he makes it a bit tough that you ask him a question, he starts talking about completely the wrong thing because he hasn't been listening to a word you've said. And Gordon Darcy, when you go to talk to him about a question, you might ask him, what do you think of the new Leinster jersey? And he starts talking about Munster for 5 minutes. So it is hard to try and keep control of them all. But generally, they're guys I would have played alongside. They're guys I know very well, and the crack is good. And we try to be as serious as we can. We try to give the analysis as well as we can, but we also are trying to be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more relaxed, and have a bit of fun and create a bit of entertainment.
Yeah. And Tommy, obviously the Pro 14 is on a hiatus right now. What way do you see the league finishing? You know what I mean? Like Leinster are doing a bit of a Liverpool at the moment, and they're running away with it on their side of the things. Do you think it will continue? Will it be cancelled? You know, what way do you see it going down?
I don't know. It's pretty scary, to be honest with you, particularly for the clubs. The clubs are still having to pay these wages. They're not getting the crowds in. They're not being able to bring in any money at all. So it's difficult for the clubs, like all business, I suppose. I know, chatting to quite a few of the players, they're taking these couple of weeks as almost their holiday period. They're trying to do a little bit of training at home, but they're loving it because even if they don't train, the coaches can't get to them to tell them off. So they'll come back into training about 3 stone overweight. But the plan is that they're meant to be getting back into training, hoping to get going again around the end of April time. Whether that looks like it's going to happen, it's pretty unlikely. But the problem is that players' contracts are finished up by around the end of June. So I would love to think by the end of May we could have 1 month of June and try and have a playoff. Maybe the top 4 teams from each conference play against each other. That would make then a quarterfinal, a semi-final, and a final. But really, to try and see how it's going to work, it's going to be a bit of a disaster, particularly because you have the 2 teams from Italy and 2 teams from South Africa as well. It's just it's going to be difficult logistically.
Yeah.
What was your take on that when we added in the South African teams into Pro 14? Do you think that was a good look, or do you think just, you know, travel-wise and stuff like that, it's almost a slight disaster, really? Although the lads might love to break down to South Africa all the time.
Yeah, do you know what? I did it in my final year. I did the trip down to Port Elizabeth, and yes, the travel is a disaster. I mean, it was 22 hours, 3 flights to get there, to just play 1 match and then come back again. So what? And we're not. I think we did actually go business class down there, but not on the way back. But it is a bit of a struggle, particularly the season is so long nowadays for players. But to get down there, it's nice to it's a completely new environment. I'd say after about 5 or 6 years, though, players will get a bit fed up of it. At the minute, it's all new. People like to kind of get away. It's almost like going on tour, and players love touring. But in years to come, it might become a little bit too much. But the Cheetahs have certainly added something to the competition. The Kings definitely have not. If they can try and add a bit of competitiveness to it, it's definitely worthwhile. Otherwise, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. Obviously, it's good to get a player's perspective on it and that. But I must say, the Irish team seem to dominate every single year. Do you think that, you know, some of the maybe although the Welsh teams have done all right as well. But do you think what needs to be done to sort of make the league a bit more competitive?
It's hard. Listen, the Welsh the Welsh have a great system. They have so many young players. You look at their national team, how strong they are. But the problem with that is that they have 4 teams all within an hour of each other. So for them to try and bring in different sponsors, to bring in different players, they're all on top of each other. Ireland is perfectly set up. The 4 provinces have always been there. We're 2 hours away from each other, so there's a good gap and a good catchment of different players. I personally think that the Welsh need to go to 2 teams and just have a West Wales team and an East Wales team, and I think that they would be incredibly strong. And then have a development team maybe up in North Wales, so for a lot of their young players to go up to North Wales, play in the development team that's still in the Pro 14, but a West Walian team, which would be the Scarlets and the Ospreys combined, and the Dragons and Cardiff being the East Wales, would be 2 very strong sides. I think Scotland are getting more competitive. I think Glasgow are a good side of a good team, good players, and Richard Cockrell's done a brilliant job with Edinburgh as well. So from a Scottish point of view, that's strong. Really, the problem is that the Italians and the South Africans, there's too many maybe gimme games there. You go to Zebra, you generally expect that you're going to get 2 wins and 2 bonus point wins against them. Likewise, the Kings and the Cheetahs and Benetton can cause an upset, but it's those games that are really the disappointing side of the league.
Yeah, Tommy, having spent time playing for the Ospreys and for Ulster, what's the biggest difference between both sides?
Whenever I was at the Ospreys, it was a particularly strong team. We had a squad with an unbelievable, I think there were 13 players that were in the Welsh squad that won a Grand Slam in that side. Plus you add in the likes of Jerry Collins, Philo Tia, Marty Holla, Justin Marshall was there. Like, it was an incredibly talented team. They called them the Galacticos of the time, the Real Madrid. So when we were there, listen, I went over there just for an opportunity to try something different. I couldn't get into the Irish team whenever I was about 24. I'd been dropped out of the squad by Eddie O'Sullivan, and no matter how well I was playing for Ulster, I just couldn't get back into the team. I decided I needed to try something different, and the opportunity came. My contract was up to go to the Ospreys, and I knew going to the Ospreys I'd still be in the Pro 14, so I would be playing against an Irish province once in every maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So the Irish coach, you're still easily visible to him. He didn't have to get on a flight to go and watch you play in the English Premiership or over in France where he's just watching one player. So that worked in my favour. In terms of what's different, I think that, rugby is definitely the national sport over in Wales. They grow up with it. It's a real club mentality over there. Here in Ireland, there's so many sports between Gaelic football, hurling, soccer, all vying for that spot. I think if rugby could get to the stage where we could grab some of those Gaelic footballers and hurlers and get them into the system, I think we could become world beaters.
Yeah. Did you ever play hurling or Gaelic?
I played a lot of Gaelic football growing up, from Monaghan. There wasn't really much of anything else.
Yeah, I can notice that in your gameplay, the way you were like very dogged, and you could tell the way a ball would bounce. I think that's a good thing. Like, if you look at Rob Kearney as well, the way he's amazing under a high ball, you can tell he's in the back garden catching a few Gary Owens.
The big thing you notice from Gaelic football, and certainly whenever I came back from playing Gaelic in the summer to rugby in the winter, was that in Gaelic football it's all about attacking the ball. So you're always running onto it. So if you see a ball in the air, you're kind of holding back to attack it and catch it almost at full height. Where in rugby, it's very much, you used to wait for it and cradle it and catch it into your chest. So I think that whenever you're running onto a pass, when you're running onto a high ball or a crossfield kick, Gaelic football, those sort of skills are really transferable. And also it's the vision. You learn whenever you're soloing a ball, you have players to your left, right, your head is always up. So personally, like, my big thing is that for kids growing up, it's so important to play so many different sports. You see a lot of schools now, they're getting very focused and very internalized on just one sport, and it's all about getting bigger in weights. My big thing is playing with your head up, practicing your skills, because eventually we'll all level out size wise. And if your skill level is at a good enough, if your skills are good enough and you're big enough size-wise, you can make it in any sport.
Yeah, sure. Look at Brian O'Driscoll as well. Obviously, one of your past teammates. I mean, I've worked with him numerous times, and when you look at him, he's not actually that big. Now he's very wide,
No.
but like his skills are just.
That's just since retiring.
I love that, Brian.
You look at Shane Williams. You know, Shane Williams was the best winger I ever played with. You know, and he used to get the ball in his hands 20 plus times a game, and he could be at scrum half, out half. He could be in the middle of a ruck. You never knew where he was going to be. And he was only 5'8" or 9, I think, but he was just electric. Even Cheslin Colby in the World Cup. You know, like rugby is becoming a game where people are leveling out size and shape wise, but there's always going to be those opportunities for smaller guys like a Shane Williams or Cheslin Colby or a Devin.
Even the way Stringer did it.
6'11". Yeah,
Even the way Stringer was as a sniper. Jason Robinson as well was like very much like Shane Williams. You know what I mean? Just the little jinx.
The game needs that. You know, there's a lot of players who are becoming so gym bound and getting so structured that, you know, coming up against somebody with fast feet is so difficult to come up to try and tackle and lay a hand on. So the game needs to evolve. It needs to bring speed. You look at the way Japan played in the World Cup. Yeah. You know, it was, instead of playing with strength and power, it was all about speed and skill. And I would love to see the game taking a real focus to try and bring that into the game in a worldwide scheme.
Same here.
It would be absolutely incredible. Tommy, I just want to have a quick run through your career. 69 appearances for Ireland, 30 tries, 2 Lions tours, a few tries there. What would you say is the highlight of your playing career?
Listen, I have some great memories. Some, you know, to the Grand Slam at 09 is definitely going to be one that stands out, particularly playing in the Millennium Stadium and beating the Welsh.
Yeah, I was sorry for interrupting, but that was something I wanted to bring up as well. But yeah, continue.
So that was, listen, that's a great day. The first time playing Lions, unbelievable, because that was, you know, my dream was always to play for Ireland. So to play for the Lions, we all watched the 97 Lions video. I must have watched it 10 times. And to play for them, so special. But, you know, lads, coming from Monaghan, where it's very much Gaelic football territory, I didn't play for Ireland schools. I barely played for Ulster schools. I thought my dream of playing for Ireland was over. So, you know, I kind of got picked out of obscurity really to get into the Ulster Academy, and I managed to kind of go through very fast from the age of 18 to 20 to play for Ulster and get my first cap for Ireland in the old Lansdowne Road. And that,
who was that against?
It was against the USA in 2004. So
I think you scored a try. No, did you score a try in your debut?
Yeah.
I actually remember that now that you mention it.
Yeah. Listen, you know, it's a dream. You know, the dream is to play for your country. The dream is to sing the anthem, and to do that for your first cap, to be at home, your parents, family, everybody there to watch you. You know, I'm very fortunate to have 69 caps, but that first one was one that I still remember it. I remember David Humphreys, who was an Ulster player with me at the time, told me in the change room to just soak it all in, try and remember as much as you can, because it'll pass like in a heartbeat. And you know, it pretty much it did pass in a heartbeat. I don't remember much, but I remember scoring that try in the corner, and you know, it was a dream come true.
He's a player actually also really struggled to replace David Humphreys, isn't he? And they're sort of, maybe out of the 4 provinces, maybe they seem to struggle at out half more so than the others. Do you think that's something that they might look into investing in the future, getting a new out half in? Maybe Ian Madigan might come back over.
Well, Madigan is coming over. Of course, we had, you know, you had Paddy Jackson, who was there, who's now obviously playing with London Irish. But Hump was not just a great player. He was a real leader as well. He was somebody who was a real inspiration. I remember whenever I was 19, 20, get into the Ulster camp and training alongside him, and he was a stickler for skill. Like, he used to, you know, if I threw a bad pass, he'd be on my case all the time. He just was pushing standards all the time. And that kind of, for a young player, when your idol is giving you a hard time to try and get better, you know, it hit me hard at the start, but it really pushed me. So he was a player that definitely, you know, was a real idol of mine growing up. I think that Ulster have got a few young out halves there, but when you see the abundance of talent the likes of Munster have, with the likes of Frawley, Harry Byrne, who are probably fourth and fifth choices in Leinster.
Yeah.
I know Madigan is now coming back to Ulster next season. You have Billy Burns there, who had a good season, but can I see him really playing week in, week out for Ireland? I don't know. You have to really worry that how far behind is Ross Byrne behind Johnny Sexton, and who is coming up next. I'd love to see those guys being given more of an opportunity, but at the minute, it doesn't look like they're going to get a chance.
Yeah, it is one position where you're almost like, in a bad way, hoping someone almost gets injured to get your shot. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, as a player, that's always what you wanted.
Yeah,
it's ruthless to say it, and to people's faces when they asked you, you always wish them well. But as a player, you are always praying that they were going to pick up, not a bad injury, just maybe a grade 1 tear, so they're out for 3 weeks, so you can get your chance to jump in and take it. Take your chance.
Or they might get a cough.
Or a cough. If he's staying well clear, no.
I'll tell you this.
I don't want to cough.
Tommy, who did you see as your biggest rival for your jersey when you were in your prime your career? Was it Earlsy?
Hey, do you know what? The person who used to push me, and it was the best thing that happened in my career, was having Andrew Trimble in Ulster. Myself and Trimby were roommates. We were great buddies. There was a year between us. He ended up with 70 Ireland caps, and I had 69, so I was a bit raging with that. But
you can come back in retirement.
I don't think I'll get picked. But we were both so competitive with each other in training, in the gym, and pushed each other so hard. With us in Ulster and Ireland, myself and Trimby were real competitive with each other. Alongside that, you had the likes of Luke Fitzgerald, who was a young guy coming through, who he'd come through from school. Everybody was talking him up so much, and he was a real talented player too. You had Keith Earls then, who came through a few years later. So it's kind of the cycle, guys. Myself and Trimby were coming through when Shane Horgan and Dennis Hickey were kind of coming to the end of their careers. Myself and Trimby were there for a while. Then you had Luke Fitzgerald come in, Keith Earls, Jacob Stockdale. So there's always that conveyor belt, and you're either the young one fighting to get through, or one of the old ones trying to beat them off.
Yeah, but you have to say, Tommy, as a winger, it's all about getting the finish. You know what I mean? And as good as Trimble was, I don't think he crossed that line in Ireland jersey as many times as you did.
And any time he did, I probably passed it to him.
Yeah, not only a try scorer, also the eldest sister.
Assist, that's it, exactly.
I think it might be obvious who your answer might be, but who was the best player you've ever played with in the green jersey?
In the green jersey, you'd have to probably say Brian Driscoll. Of course, he was another man, like I talked earlier about David Humphreys pushing standards. Dricko used to expect incredible standards of himself. The one thing I liked about Dricko, though, was how he transformed from being an incredibly exciting 13 unbelievable outside break, used to score a lot of tries, used to be such a threat. He was able to keep that through his career, but then he developed, into probably being one of the best defenders in a 13 channel in the world, which is so difficult to defend there. And then he became that poaching threat, always stealing the ball. So, it's one thing, guys, to be at the top of the tree for a year or two and to try and score tries and have a couple of good seasons, but to do it for 10, nearly 15 seasons, what Dricko did was just incredible. He was a player that just constantly had to evolve, and yourself, in any sport or in any walk of business, it's about evolving. You kind of get complacent if you'll end up being caught out. So Dricko he was a talent, of course he was. But Jordan Murphy was another player who I just loved playing alongside, loved training alongside. Jordan used to, the skills that guy had, he could do anything on a pitch. So he was a guy who I used to really enjoy playing alongside, and he was good crack as well.
Jordan
he did well getting picked from England as well, which was like quite a rare thing to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
The quality that he had.
Exactly, it's one of those things. It's almost like a rare commodity now if you actually play outside the 4 provinces to get into the Irish squad.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, listen, it wasn't such a big thing back then. But you know, when I kind of knew I had to be 20% better than, you know, the players that were playing at home, you know, because if it was 50-50 decision between you and a player in an Irish province, you would have to expect that they were going to get picked ahead of you. So I used that as my motivation, that I wanted to try and really push myself to be that much better, that the decision was taken out of the coach's hand. And you know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't.
Just leading on from Ross's question there, who's the best captain you played under as well? Because obviously you mentioned David Humphreys and we mentioned Brian Driscoll as well, but like obviously Paul O'Connell as well. Is there any other?
Yeah, well, yeah, Paulie. I was fortunate again. You know, I had the likes of Alan Wynne Jones over in Wales. I had Ryan Jones, who was, I think, the most capped Welsh captain. Sam Warburton with the Lions.
Yeah.
You had Paul O'Connell and Rory Best, Johan Muller.
So
some unbelievable captains, unbelievable leaders. Listen, I thought Rory Best is a fantastic captain. You know, you just see the way even the players talk about him now. He's just so much respect, and it's not just about, you know, he's a great guy on and off the pitch too. But in terms of as a leader and somebody, you know, who used to really make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, Paul O'Connell was somebody who could give a speech like no other. And he didn't do it all the time. You always knew whenever you were playing against England, or there was a big game maybe against the All Blacks, or a really special game, that Paulie would come out with a bit of magic, and there would be a speech now and again, maybe once, maybe twice in the Six Nations, that, you know, it might happen the night before the match and you were busting to get out onto the pitch straight away. So
there wasn't a fear of God every week.
You know what? You know, the fear of God stuff is that was just showing his competitiveness, and you know, you'd see someone like Sean O'Brien, and people like to be able to shout and roar in the change rooms, and there's certain people do that. But when Paulie gave a speech that really got you up for a game, it was a really calm, really relaxed. It was sitting in a room all in a huddle and just talking about doing it for your family, and how this will make your family proud, how it make your country proud, and what it meant to wear the Irish jersey. And those are special days.
Yeah, that's the thing. People know how much it means to the Irish players, and it's brilliant to watch. Like, we love following the Irish rugby. It's amazing. Yeah,
but sometimes, you know, you kind of, you almost, not that you take it for granted, but sometimes you're caught up in so much of a bubble and thinking about, you know, you have to get your detail right. I have to make sure I do this. I have to make sure you do that. When you actually forget that you're doing this for your family, you're doing this, the sacrifice that your dad put in to take you to training every week, the sacrifice that your mum did, you know, having to cook you all those meals, or take you to training, or do an extra job. And, you know, there's so many sacrifices along the way for coaches and everything else, and sometimes you lose sight of that, and it just takes now and again for a big game to try and remind you of those moments and those people.
Yeah. And just on the sort of subject of captaincy there, Tommy, we won't keep it much longer, but Andy Farrell's now taken over from Joe Schmidt, and he made Johnny Sexton captain. Obviously Johnny's not going to be around forever. Looking at him, he might only have a year or two left. He's been plagued with injuries. Who do you think is the next Ireland captain after Johnny Sexton?
Well, I think one person who would benefit out of this break is Johnny Sexton. That is a man who's needed to give his body a rest, because he just gets battered every game, and almost just to shower his head. I think that sometimes it just gets a little bit too much, and certainly being an out half. Listen, I played alongside Johnny. He is a leader. He is a captain within the team, and he drives the standards. He pushes himself harder than anyone. But when he has to, in the heat of the moment, make crucial decisions as well, it can sometimes get a little bit too much. And that was the beauty of someone like Rory Best. You know, he was very calm and collected at all stages. Listen, there was no doubt in my mind that Johnny was going to be named captain by Andy Farrell. And purely because I don't really know who else. There was nobody else really assured of their place. You could look at a Pete O'Mahony, but again, wasn't assured of his place. CJ Stander, again, similar. Maybe a Robbie Henshaw, but Gary Ringrose, maybe.
We thought maybe potentially James Ryan just because of the 4-year cycle.
Absolutely, but I know James Ryan, and he's a very quiet guy. You know, he's an excellent player. He was captain of the under-20s, very successful under-20s team, captain of a school team. But he's only 21, lads, or 22.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And, you know,
that may have rocked the boat as well.
Massively, and the captaincy of the national team is a big deal, and you don't realize that until you're in there and you're facing the press conference every week. And when things aren't going well, when things are going well, it's easy to be a captain. You know, you're able to, all the press are giving you all the easy questions, and, you know, everybody's in good form. But when you start losing matches, and particularly coming off that World Cup, the media are out for Ireland at the minute going into the Six Nations, and to send someone like James Ryan out there would have been very difficult and very unfair on him. So, James, there's no doubt James is a future captain for Ireland. But, you know, he's still finding his feet. He's a fantastic player. But you need experience, and you need, you know, miles on the clock. And I think Johnny will probably do it for potentially even another year before James gets handed the reins.
In fairness, I actually agree with you on that. I think there's only 3 people in the Ireland jersey or in the Ireland team who are like definitely guaranteed their spots. Probably Tadhg Furlong, James Ryan, and Johnny Sexton. And look, you know, Johnny Sexton's been known for before, like when Leinster got absolutely thumped in the first half of the Heineken Cup final against Northampton and then came out and beat them. Possibly it was a comeback on, you know, Liverpool AC Milan levels, you know what I mean? So he seems to be like, you know, G. Yeah, he seems to be influential to no end. And at the end of the day, sometimes I like the out half of the captain, because, you know, Ronan O'Gara has been known to say a few times that Paul, he'd be like, right, Ronan, go up and kick that there. And he'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, can't believe you're making me kick this. As opposed to
it's brilliant. It's a brilliant insight, you know, insight into, you know, you're playing a team sport, lads are playing rugby, but actually a goal kicker is an individual sport, you know, so you're switching between, you know, being together as a team, and we do this together, we all put our body on the line for each other, but then the out half, make sure you kick that over the bar so that we can start, so that we can win. And, you know, whenever a full team is relying on one player to make sure that he gets his kicks, it's nerve-wracking, it's hard. And it was really interesting to hear Ronan O'Gara talk about that whenever his confidence wasn't quite there. That was almost a shot of confidence from his captain, Paul O'Connell, to trust him that he would be able to kick it over. Where if you're the captain having to make that decision, it's easy to kind of go, nah, we'll go for the corner.
Yeah. Tommy, just before we wrap things up, what do you make of the current Ireland squad? And how do you think Andy Farrell's getting on since he's taken over as the first team like manager?
Yeah, since chatting to the players, it seems to be a really good camp in there. Listen, Joe Schmidt has had maybe his critics over the years, and some of Joe's styles of play and bits and pieces might not have suited my game either, but he was the best Irish coach of all time. You know, his record says it, and you know, to have never beaten the All Blacks in 110 years, he's beaten them twice. He's won a Grand Slam, 3 Six Nations. Yeah. You know, it's incredible what the level that he's taken Ireland to. So to be the coach to follow that, it is very, very difficult. And he's coached me with the Lions and with Ireland. I think he's a fantastic coach. But this is his first time as a head coach too, so that's going to take time. And I think the Irish people just need to realise that we need to give these players a bit of time. You know, it is a bit of a transition period. The likes of Johnny Sexton, Rob Kearney, Pete O'Mahony, these guys over the next year or two will start to filter out. But I've no doubt the strength of the young players coming through is really, really exciting. There is a lot of players coming through from that Leinster team, Ulster team, and Connacht that can make a very, very exciting team for Ireland going forward. So, you know, give it a year or two, let the transition happen. Hopefully we'll be able to still be able to win big games. But I think in 2-3 years' time, Ireland's going to be in a great place.
Brilliant, Tommy.
Brilliant, Tommy. We appreciate you coming on and spend the time with us. And first, it's the first time in a while that all 4 provinces are actually like contributing to the Irish squad as well, which is brilliant to see as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Tommy, thanks a million for coming on. Barry, do you have anything to say before we wrap it up?
Everyone, thanks a million for tuning in. Tommy is obviously a legend, and thanks a million for giving your time. Hopefully everyone stays safe during this COVID-19 situation. Absolutely. And Make sure to check out Tommy's highlight videos as well. They're brilliant. Make sure to like, subscribe, and as always, stay energized.